this is not just about America, but one about a former president of one of the big superpowers. And secondly, of course, the world is watching how this plays out. And can Donald Trump again fight as a presidential candidate? So let's get some perspective on that. As you can see on your screen, joining me, Aziz Hanifa is a former editor of India Abroad, has been a regular for India Today as well with his perspectives, live from Florida. Also a foreign affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, is joining us. Aziz Hanifa, first over to you. It's been very interesting that Trump has decided to return to at least try to rerun as a presidential candidate again for 2024. But it's not going to be an easy road at all for him, if at all he gets to be on that road.
Absolutely, because this is just one of probably a few more indictments that are to follow. And it was historic in the 247-year history of the United States. Never has a former president been indicted, and indicted in federal court. And it was quite a circus today in Miami outside the federal court, where a lot of hundreds of Trump fans as well as a few protesters had assembled for this historic indictment on 37 counts. And of course, now what could happen is his lawyers could file motions, try to delay the thing, and then try to play out the time so that it might extend beyond November, which means that if in fact he's leading considerably in the primaries, and if he wins the GOP primary and goes on to be elected as president, he could well it is unprecedented, but he could pardon himself and he could instruct his attorney general to throw out the entire case. So it's going to be a case where the prosecution will try to find a trial as early as possible. But then, of course, it's going to be early March and it's very much into primary season. So it's going to be very complicated. But in fact, it has been unprecedented because, in fact, Trump has been unprecedented in terms of some of the classified material that had taken into his Mar-a-Lago home. So it's going to be an interesting next few months going on to all the way up to the election.
Happening right when the whole election season is also starting for the USA. I request Aziz Hanifa stay on with me. I want to take this question to Geeta Mohan. Geeta, can we say that temporary relief for Donald Trump, and the world in some ways watching? Of course, it is their internal matter, but it is also a very curious case.
Well, Pooja, this is an arraignment hearing, so he was called in, the charges were read out, and yes, he pleaded not guilty as was expected. There were reports that Nauta, his aide, who's also been named as a co-conspirator, would also plead, but that did not happen. He did not enter his plea in this on this very day. But yes, it's a charged up environment. Are we looking at Trump supporters, anti-Trump protesters, both sides outside the federal court? In fact, one anti-Trump protester actually went in front of his motorcade while he was leaving the Miami court. Having said that, this is only the beginning. The entire hearing process could take over a year on this very case in a Miami court. So it is a long-run process, and it has only begun now with the case and the counts of charges. That's about 37 criminal counts that were read out, and Donald Trump clearly saying that he has not done anything wrong. And after that, the press conference and the interaction we've already heard snippets of clearly show that this is a defiant former president, the first former president to have been indicted on criminal counts in a federal court, but nonetheless defiant. And I suppose at this juncture, it looks like he's going to give it a very tough fight.
Very interesting, Geeta and Aziz Hanifa. Please stay on with me, because for the viewers, we want to put it in perspective. Why has Trump been indicted? Why is the trial that's starting in some time against him? What are the issues, basically? Let's bring you up to date about what's been happening with regard to Trump. Let's begin. Now, remember, the White House documents were shipped to Mar-a-Lago in 2021. That was one of the biggest issues, one of the big charges. And this was a private location. This had nothing to do with his official interactions, which had to be White House, where the classified documents are supposed to be kept. National Archives tried to ask Trump to return all these documents to him. He returned over 15 boxes of documents in 2022, last year in January. The boxes contained highly sensitive material marked classified, which means it cannot be released into the public domain, and it is only which the top establishment in the government and authorities know. It can be about history of America, it can be about present issues. Now, the Justice Department investigation was then launched on this issue. It was last year in August 2022 when the federal agents finally conducted official searches at Mar-a-Lago location of Donald Trump. And then, apart from the 15 boxes that he had submitted, 100 classified documents were recovered in the searches. The question again rises, why were there classified documents at a private location of Donald Trump? So what are the charges also, and that I'll come to you. But before that, I want to go across to Aziz Hanifa. Now, you know, it is a case that a former president having a classified documents, this is about national security. So as much as Donald Trump can call it a witch hunt against him, that this is an abuse of power that he's been calling it, if there is evidence against him that he was trying to mismanage or interfere with classified documents, this can actually lead to possibly a long sentence against him, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because in fact, no one, in fact, his own Attorney General, Bill Barr,
yes,
had said that, you know, he is toast in terms of even if one or two of the charges he's found guilty on. So this in fact, and a lot of his own Republicans are very fearful and very concerned that this indictment is quite ironclad, and special counsel done tremendous work, and most of the people who have testified and are witnesses are his own former officials, former lawyers, etc. So the indictment is pretty ironclad, and it's going to be a very, very tough case for him. So that's why the thinking is that his lawyers will try to play for time and are making a strong case and whining about the fact that Biden and others, Clinton, Hillary Clinton, etc., also had classified information, etc. But the stark reality is that they may have also had classified. They quickly made the archives aware of it, while he kept on saying
yes,
that he given over all the classified information, but then it was found that he had not only classified information, that he had also been quite proudly
I think
boasting
it's
about.
a developing story, but it's also very interesting, and the world will be watching what happens to Trump. Can he get his way out, or is the clock ticking? I want to thank for now Geeta Mohan and Aziz Hanifa. We have more news coming in, but this is a big developing story, and we'll be keeping our eyes out for what's been happening in America.